I'm going to let everybody in.
Melanie, it still says you're in a practice session, just FYI.
Yeah, that's why I'm letting everybody in.
Is everybody in?
Yes, we have 3 attendees.
Great. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the June 15th, 2022 meeting of the San Mateo County Harbor District. Melanie, roll call, please.
President Ryring,
Present.
Commissioner Mateusz,
Present.
Commissioner Zemke,
Present.
Commissioner Chang Corrali,
Present.
and Commissioner Lorenas, who is
Great.
absent.
He is absent. So we have a quorum and we'll start today's meeting with public comment. If anyone has a comment on an item not on today's agenda, please raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised.
Nope, I don't see any as well.
Great. Okay, so we'll move on to the consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar, or does anybody want to pull an item?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
Great. Roll call, Melanie.
President Ryring,
Yes.
Commissioner Zemke,
Aye.
Commissioner Mateusz,
Aye.
Commissioner Chang Corrali.
Aye.
The motion carries. We'll move on to discussion item number 9. Final budget, fiscal year 22-23, operating budget and 5-year capital improvement plan. Julie, this is your item.
Good afternoon, President Ryring, commissioners. The final budget that is being presented to you today has some changes in it compared to what we had in the preliminary budget, and most of that is all good news. We are tracking about $937,000 over where we were in the preliminary budget. That came in this year, and so we will have an extra $1 million to go into our working capital fund. In addition, there was proposed legislation at the state level that was rescinded by the Department of Finance, but they are still working on some legislation that may impact the district for the vehicle license fee funding. The district does not have any vehicle license funding, but there is discussion on the different ways that the San Mateo County is looking at the proposed legislation, and how the state and the CSDA is looking at the legislation. So there's a lot of talking behind the scenes. There might be some cleanup language that is included in the trailer bill to make it absolutely clear that special districts should not be impacted by the funding of the VLF shortfall. So with that, we've increased the property tax by $350,000 for this budget year. Plus, we increased it for because our current year projection was way below what is projected next year. So we increased the property taxes by a considerable amount, or 16.2%. It went from an estimate of $8 million to $9.3 million. And the operating revenues are staying around the same. We did take out $34,000 that's related to the fee schedule not being adopted last meeting, and we'll talk about the fee schedule after this budget item. Salaries and benefits went up slightly, and that's due to a projected increase in our benefit costs. health benefit costs continue to go up. And our non-personnel expenditures are expected to go up 2.26 from the preliminary budget to the final budget. And that's due to higher than projected information technology costs, operating costs, personnel administration, and other miscellaneous expenditures. So overall, what is presented in the budget today is $1,162,000, or approximately 100.52%, because of those, primarily because of the property tax adjustment. Going forward, our 5-year summary, that's been adjusted too, because the Department of Finance at the state rescinded that original trailer bill. And so instead of the $350,000 decrease growing to 1.4 million decrease in 5 years out, we are taking a conservative approach and saying, because of the recession and because of the uncertainty of, how that might affect the real estate market, and in particular the commercial properties, that our projection of property taxes over the 5-year period is not expected to grow, but is expected to decrease by 1% per year. And that, is a conservative estimate. But with that, those adjustments, now we are in a positive variance 5 years out, and in the 5th year, 26, 27, there's approximately $700,000 that would actually increase our working capital balance. I should, I guess, bring up the budget document and show you, let's see here. I meant to have this already, but then I was having technical difficulties getting into the budget document. Seems to be working now. Let's go back. Okay, can you all see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Right, so I'll go to the pages that are changing. I just talked about this budgetary highlights where there was the comparison between the preliminary and the final budget. In addition, we have this 22-23 budget summary, and that's compared to the 21-22 projection. The projection is different now than it was in the preliminary budget by the things that we talked about before. But just going through this year-to-year comparison, operating revenues are budgeted to increase by 4.67%. due to the anticipated inflationary increase in birth rates and monthly lease payments. Additional income from commercial activity permits, which is primarily due to the permitting process that was put in place for off the fish sales, and the rental income of the administration building. So we're renting out the office spaces there. The non-operating revenues are budgeted to decrease by 1% due to the projected decrease in interest income. And there was $122,000 that we received in COVID relief funds in 21-22 or this fiscal year, and they're not expected to be any additional relief funds next fiscal year. The salaries, wages, and benefit expenditures are projected to increase by 11.18% due to an estimated 5% salary, wage, and benefit cost increase. And if you remember in the preliminary budget presentation, we were talking about having to keep that salary increases at 3% so that we could balance our budget in future years. Well, and so now this is back up to the 5% that we typically experience year over year. We are going to go into negotiations with the two unions starting next year. And so that percentage may change, but that's our best guess at this point. There are currently 5 vacancies. We are pretty much, we're going to be fully staffed soon. We have 4 different recruitments open right now. We've given offers to 3 candidates. And so we're just onboarding those candidates. And then we have 1 recruitment that will close at the end of next month. So non-personnel expenditures are budgeted to increase by 16.67%. And that's because of increase in utilities, property insurance premiums, and repairs and maintenance of the purchase of the admin building, which is partially offset by the elimination of rents paid for the building. In addition, costs are expected to increase by approximately 5% due to the inflationary increases. And so that budget includes $745,000 in biennial election costs. We hope that it won't cost that much this coming up election, but that's again a conservative estimate. And then the revised budget this current year fiscal year that we're in, if you look at what we estimated in the revised budget compared to what we're estimating as the projection, you'll see that our operating revenues are expected to be below the revised budget by 2.07%. 2.07%, and that's because Pillar Point Harbor is tracking slightly below what we had initially projected because of vacancy rate increases, and we don't have as much anchor out revenue currently. Non-operating expenses are expected to exceed the revised budget. We talked about that by $937,000. Salaries and wages are expected to be slightly below budget due to the vacant positions. That salary savings has been offset by a lot of overtime costs that we've had to incur because of those vacancies. Non-personnel expenditures are anticipated to be 6.337% below budget due to lower than expected legal costs, travel and training costs, and lease savings due to the purchase of the building. And the working capital increase is expected to be the $1,162,000. And we talked about that before too. Other things, we found a real need through the implementation of our ERP implementation that we really need additional help at the harbors to do all of the billing and assist customers. And so we have now 3 customer service coordinators. Our intent is to cover that front office to help the public and our customers who come in on the weekends. So that's our goal, is order to provide better customer service. We did use the funding of the administrative analyst to fund this position. So the total head count will remain the same, but we're just moving around duties. And let's see what else. Oh, some of the capital projects, there's updates on some of the capital projects. Let's see here. So the Johnson Pier reconfiguration, that's the same as the preliminary budget. Tenant Row is the same. Pillar Point Harbor RV Park restroom and green space project at Surfers Beach. It's currently in the design, engineering, and permitting phase. We have this Oyster Point Marina that engineer's estimate came in above what we had initially had in the budget. So there's $18 million approximately that remains unfunded, and we're looking for funding for that. The Pillar Point Harbor East Outer Dredge Project, we had $1.2 million unfunded. So now that we have that extra money, as we talked about previously, we are now funding that project fully again. The Pillar Point West Trail Shoreline Protection Project is expected to be completed in October. It's primarily complete now, but there's still some vegetation planting that is supposed to happen in the October season. The Oyster Point Marina replacement of navigational aids is now expected to be completed of August 2022. That used to be this month. Enterprise Planning Resource System. We're pretty much done. We're using the system for everything that we need, but there's some functionality that we gained that hasn't been fully implemented yet. So we're working hard to complete the process to implement that additional functionality. The Oyster Point Marina dock surveys, that hasn't changed. The access ramps for docks 1 through 6 and 11. In the preliminary budget, we didn't have funding for that, so we've added back funding for that project. The shoreline rock slope restoration is still going on, or still expected to be done at a later date. Same with the launch ramp and the parking lots. There's a few parking lot projects. All of these, we don't have any estimated completion date, and we really haven't started them yet. The Pillar Point Harbor Retail Center replacement, we did issue a contract for preliminary engineering and design work on that. And we'll look for the funding for that one. The funding for the Oyster Point Marina square foot parcel building, we've added funding into there. So that's funded now with extra money that we have. And the launch ramp dredge, it has been fully completed. So that's kind of a summary of the things that have changed between the final operating budget that's presented today and the preliminary budget that was presented back in April. And I'd be happy to answer any questions or review any more of the information.
This is really great work. Thank you, Julie, and such good news. Really good news. Do I have a question, but I'll wait for the other commissioners to chime in first. Commissioner Chan-Crowley, you have a question?
Oh, no question. I just wanted to thank you, Julie, and the staff for a really good job on getting our budget in order. Can you just remind me what the property tax, it's like 1.16 million, that adjustment in favor of the Harbor District, is that correct?
Yeah, it's $937,000 property tax adjustment for this year. But in total, our budget is expected to be better by 1,162,000. So that's with all the adjustments between our preliminary budget estimate and what we're projecting now.
Okay, thanks. The great job. Can you just please let everyone know that y'all are doing a great job? Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
No other questions. Julie, you mentioned something about the district and a 5% increase that we're expecting. Was that kind of due to inflation? Is that kind of across the board on our expenses, or what specifically was that tied to?
Yeah, the 5% increase was in salaries and benefits. We do have a plan to reduce certain costs next year in our non-salary benefit expenditures. There's some things like we'd like to reduce our legal costs, and we're going to work really hard to reduce some of these costs. But into the future, the salaries and benefits are expected to go up 5%. Let me just look at this. Yeah, so, right, costs are expected to go up next year to the 5%. What we were looking at is the year after that we were going to decrease some of the costs. So I know that insurance, for example, has gone up over the last 5 years, 350% in general liability insurance. So it's, with the wildfires and all of the losses and all the changes in the insurance industry, that's a big hit to us.
Yeah. Thank you, Julie.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from commissioners? We have a member of the public who has a comment or a question. John Ullum.
Thank you for having me on today. It appears to me that going through your budget here, that it's very aspirational, that there's a lot of things you want to do, but you don't have anything close to the money to do it. And it doesn't really look like you've identified any funding sources other than hoping for the fairies of grants to bail you out. You do have one option, that is to get serious about the agreement you have with South San Francisco. You're subsidizing an operation up there for over 50 years now that is completely broken down. Everything's wore out. Same at Pillar Point Harbor, everything's wore out. You have massive amounts of infrastructure that you plan to fix. Your infrastructure repairs are bigger than anything that has ever been done at the Harbor District. And you will not address the biggest problem that you have. There is a reason why you are running two harbors, or one marina and one harbor, that are both wore out, have had all of their infrastructure depreciated down to zero and then some. And you're in this position, and you thank staff for trying to find a few dollars of savings here and there. But the real reason why you're in this situation is a bad agreement you have with South San Francisco. It's the 800-pound gorilla in the room, and none of you are willing to deal with it. The closest you've come is to pretend that you're going to send staff to help clean up the mess that Virginia and Tom made. So I'd like to see you discuss that, how you really are going to fix the fundamental problem that is with the Harbor District and the structural deficits that you are not dealing with. Thank you.
Commissioners, do we have a motion to approve this item and adopt resolution number 22-15?
I will so move.
I'll second.
Great. Roll call, Melanie.
Commissioner Zemke? Commissioner Zemke? Can you hear me? Hello?
Oh, we can't hear you, Melanie.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Right.
Here.
Now
Can you
you're
hear me
back.
now? Oh, that's weird. Okay. Commissioner Zemke?
Aye.
Commissioner Mathush?
Aye.
Commissioner Chang Carali?
Aye.
President Ryring?
Aye. The motion carries. Thank you, everybody. And we'll move on to item number 10, which is approve rates and fees effective July 1st. And Julie, again, this is your item.
Okay, thank you. Yes, at the last meeting, the Harbor Commission approved the increase in rates and fees for the berthing rates for Pillow Point Harbor and Oyster Point Marina. Again, if you give me a second, I'll share my screen here. And the other direction was to make clear exactly what the board was approving. So attached, we have a Pillar Point Harbor attachment, Oyster Point Marina attachment, and the event fee schedule attachment. So there's 3 attachments to the staff report. All of the items that are struck out and in red here, and I believe they're in blue for some reason on the event schedule, fee schedule. Those are all the increases by the 3.2%, which is equal to the inflationary rate of last year's inflationary rate for the Bay Area. Anything that's highlighted in yellow, the board has already approved in a previous action. So those are just presented so that we can have kind of a full look at the fee schedule in one spot. So we won't be talking about the yellow highlighted items here. And then the gray highlighted items is everything that is kind of cleanup of the fee schedule or not having to do with the rate increase that we're staff is asking to be approved today, or that there is some different approval that, you know, I think there was suggestions that we do it at some other percentage. So for every percent, we're talking around $10,000 difference in total. But if the board approves the 3.2% increase of all the other rates and fees, then that will provide approximately for $34,000 in the 22-23 year. And we can look at that, see how we're tracking at mid-year, and maybe that's something that we can earmark for spending for some other purpose not identified in the budget this year. Is there any questions that you might have specifically, or any clarifications that I might be able to make?
Nancy?
Commissioner Tancarelli.
Julie, thanks for doing this and thanks for helping with the cleanup on a lot of the things that were outstanding. I actually had a good meeting with the general manager, and I mean, I don't think it's a secret that, I'm just trying to make sure that we can best support our small businesses, as I think, we're going to be seeing some difficult economic times. So when I met with Jim, there were a couple of things that I was hoping, and he didn't have time to kind of probably talk to you about these changes or possible changes, but I would approve all of these, what the staff recommends, except for a couple of things. I would leave the same, the crab pot staging deposit and the passenger service fee, and this is for Pillar Point Harbor. And for Oyster Point Marina, they don't have the crab pot staging deposit, but they do have the passenger service fee. And so I would keep that the same without that increase. And it sounds like there would be minimal effect on the budget, especially with this, the property tax adjustment. And so Jim and I spoke about this a few days ago when we had a meeting about the fees and things. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to entertain a motion now, President Reiering.
Julie, can you show, so Virginia's talking about two things, the crab pot staging deposit and passenger service fees. Are you able to go to those pages?
Yeah, so it's the attachment for for Pillar Point Harbor. I'm looking at page 2 for the crab pot staging deposit and page 4 for the passenger service fee. So that's for Pillar Point Harbor, and then for Oyster Point Marina. And I know we're not there yet, but it's going to be the same thing for me. If you look at that attachment, it'll be on page 3.
And Julie, is it the case that these fees also have annual CPI increases? So I think the last time they were increased was 2017.
Yeah, for the 17-18 fiscal year.
The,
But
the passenger service fees. No, in 17-18, the board action was to say all fees shall be increased by the CPI, but we did
In
increase.
2018.
Yeah, that's the action of the board at that particular time. But we did increase last year. We increased our fees by 5%, which, if you remember, we decided during COVID that we were going to forego the increase of 3.3% and add it to the increase of the following year, which became a total of 5%.
Okay.
So last year we increased all the rates and fees by 5%.
Okay. Okay, so Commissioner Tancarelli, you're suggesting that we forego just the passenger service fees this year and the crab pot staging fee this year. You're muted.
Comment on the crab pot storage fee. That's refundable if the areas are left clean. Is that not correct?
A portion of it is refundable. So for example, here we would charge $325 and they would be refunded to 17.
yeah, so the refund wouldn't even really be affected by this. So what I'm proposing is for Pillar Point Harbor to go ahead with the increases for everything except the crab pot staging deposit and the passenger service fee. And for Oyster Point Marina, go with the staff recommendation except for keeping the passenger service fee the same. That would be for Oyster Point Marina.
So I'd like to hear how the other commissioners feel about that suggestion. Commissioner Mateo, especially since you've you're more familiar with the Pillar Point operation and the crab pot staging fees. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm puzzled how there's so many crab pots there right now when crab season ended quite some time ago. I thought there was some period where it was supposed to all be cleaned up. So I'm not sure exactly how we're handling that. So it's like, is this just long-term storage?
Yeah, can you answer that? Maybe John Moran?
Yes,
Yeah,
commissioners, I can speak to that. The harbor master and assistant harbor master are working diligently with those that have not yet removed their crab traps. And we're working at a charge to them, a further charge to them as well. So we're doing the best we can to, most everyone has cooperated and moved on, but regretfully, we're still having to work with a few.
Okay, so for the crab pot staging deposit, correct me if I'm wrong, Julie, but this is for a single stall. The current charge is, it looks like 315, I can't read this very
Yeah,
easily, but for 6 months, is that right?
That's correct, yes.
So, and we're talking about a $10 increase over 6 months.
Right. And then the refunded amount increased by $7. So we're talking about a variance of $3.
$3. And so Commissioner Chang Crowley, do you want to explain why this is something that is of concern to you with regard to keeping these businesses viable? You're muted.
I just think that when we're dealing with, am I still muted? Sorry.
No,
With businesses, and I'm just looking ahead, and I just don't see good economic times for us. And so I just want to try to support our small businesses as much as possible. And that's what Jim and I talked about in terms of where he thinks that, you know, we can help and support them. That and the passenger service fees.
well, I think this, but I think this is not direction coming from Jim. This is a conversation that you had with our general manager.
Right. And so I was asking him that question of, you know, where do we have room to not do some of these increases? That's all I asked him. And that's what we talked about, these two areas. We went through every one of these, by the way.
Right. I just find that is so symbolic. I'm not sure that really serves any purpose, but I don't know, maybe the other commissioners disagree. Any other thoughts on this issue, or if we have a motion to approve this or an amendment, or what does the commission
I
feel?
can't see $3 making a difference. Commissioner Zemke?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, on one hand, the revenue loss to the district isn't very much, but on the other hand, this isn't, I don't think this is a make or break thing for a business. So I would be inclined to just go with the 3.2% across the board for everything.
Yeah.
Including the passenger service fees.
What is the passenger service fee as far as impact?
Julie?
Julie, can you unmute and talk more about that, please?
Sure. Let me look at the budget real quick, and I'll tell you what I took out as far as passenger service fees. Sorry, it's taking me a moment.
Okay.
It's not easy to come up with that number because we actually increase the leases in the caps. Because of the, that line item includes like the administrative building increases for the leases at the admin building and the increases because the off the boat sales and stuff. If I had to guess, say, maybe Tom would be better at this, but say there's 10,000 passengers going through the district, that would be 8 cents per passenger. So 10,000 times 8 cents,
Well, there's far less than 10,000. There's not even,
that's $800.
yeah, we're not even talking half that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the 8 cents is not a remarkable number. My impression is that staff recommends these rates and fees so that the Harbor District has fiscal accountability to the taxpayers in the county. We are, I appreciate the sentiment of, keeping these costs down, but these are largely symbolic costs, and the district itself is expecting a very real 5% increase in salaries and benefits. And we're already underwater with regard to capital improvements. I see that our mission at this time really requires us to be very careful with our finances.
Right, and these businesses bring revenue in as well, but I mean, I'll be okay with the crab pot staging, but I'm not okay with the passenger service fee because anyway, but that's just my opinion.
Okay. We have a member of the public who has his hand raised, and please, commissioners, raise your hand if you have comments or questions. See who's got their hand raised over here. Don Olam.
Hold on a moment. Give me a second. Okay, sorry, I cannot unmute him and have the timer on at the same time. Hold on a second. There we go. Go
Thank you,
ahead.
Ms.
and-
Thank you, Ms. Haddon. Well, just a quick comment. It is obviously becoming clear to the commissioners how financially screwed the district is. That's good to see. But you're just not dealing with the real problem. Talking about fees for a few $100s here or a few $1,000s there, that is not going to solve the 50-year problem that has been created by this unexplainable need to give another agency, an agency that's far bigger, far better funded, has far more sources of revenue, millions upon millions of dollars to run a harbor or a marina that is totally decrepit. It's totally rotted out, that everything is used up, that doesn't even have a fuel dock. You won't deal with the real problem. And the real problem is not the rates and the fees that you're going to spend a half hour talking about. The real problem is your agreement with South San Francisco. I don't understand why you won't deal with it. Thank you.
All right, do I have, are there any motions rumbling around out there for this item?
I'll
Commissioner
make a
Chang Crowley.
motion.
Commissioner Chang Crowley.
I'll make the motion to go with staff recommendations, but not increase the passenger service fee. And I know I'll probably be in the minority, but I mean, I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, we can also do this in two parts too, if we wanted to divide the question.
Is there a second for that motion? I think doesn't seem to be a second. So do I have another motion for this item?
I would move that we adopt the 3.2% raise for the fees as outlined by staff.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second,
Okay, Melanie, roll call, please.
Commissioner Mathush,
aye.
Commissioner Changarelli,
No.
President Ryrie,
Aye.
Commissioner Zemke.
Aye.
Great. Commissioner Chancarelli, you have your hand raised. Is that just an artifact? All right, the motion carries, and we'll move on to regular agenda item number 11, abandoned vessel update, tug vessel Caleb. John Moran.
Good afternoon again, Commissioners. This is an information-only item regarding the partially sunken vessel in Pillar Point Harbor at present. In July of 2017, staff observed that a 94-foot tug vessel, Caleb, had entered the harbor and anchored. The large vessel did not notify staff prior to its arrival, as would be expected from a professional captain for a vessel this size. The owner eventually completed an anchor out form and told staff they intended to remain anchored in the harbor long-term, hoping to use the vessel assisting fishers in placing crab traps. The Director of Operations contacted the owner multiple times, explaining that it was believed unsafe by the harbor master and the Director of Operations for a vessel this size to remain anchored in Pillar Point Harbor waters, as exposure to coastal storms could cause the vessel anchor to drag. Despite this warning, the owner believed that their vessel was safely anchored and refused to relocate to more protected waters in the bay, as the Director of Operations had suggested. In October 2017, prior to winter storms, the Director of Operations again requested the vessel relocate to a safer anchorage. Regretfully, the owner irresponsibly moved the vessel to an anchorage off Surfers Beach, outside the outer harbor. This location was even more exposed to bad weather and open seas. Therefore, for the safety of the crew and to protect the environment, the Director of Operations told the owner they could return to the harbor prior to any forecasted bad weather event. On October 22nd, 2017, the Caleb returned to anchor in the harbor. On November 8th of 2017, the vessel drug anchor and drifted into four small vessels, which were tied to district mooring balls. Two of the vessels suffered damage, as did one of the district-owned moorings. Fortunately, nobody was injured. The vessel owners re-anchored in the outer harbor and continued to have anchorage issues, as detailed in the staff report. On March 5th, 2022, and on March 9th, 2022, the vessel again was reported dragging anchor, which resulted in the district general manager issuing another notice to vacate. During the night on March 12th, 22, the owners of the vessel moved the vessel into the inner harbor without permission and abandoned the vessel at the commercial fishers work dock, damaging the dock and preventing commercial fishing activities from occurring there. On March 21st, 22, the district general manager formally noticed the Caleb owner that the vessel would be towed if it was not removed. This notice was ignored as well. On March 23rd, 22, the U.S. Coast Guard responded and removed all hazardous material from the vessel, including, but not limited to, 2,086 gallons of oily water and 4 drums of an unknown hazardous chemicals. They even removed the light bulbs from the vessel, making it as safe as could be should the vessel in fact sink. It was in a neglected state by this time. On April 6th, 2022, the district general manager requested the owner inform the district of their plan to remove the vessel, which went unanswered. On April 14th, 2022, in an effort to protect the Pillar Point Harbor inner harbor docks and surrounding vessels, the district hired a professional salvage company to tow the vessel and anchor the vessel professionally in the outer harbor using a large concrete block and sufficient length of chain. On May 27th, 2022, the neglected and abandoned vessel partially sank in the shallow water where it was anchored. Staff immediately responded, placed sufficient containment boom around the vessel, and made all necessary notifications to regulatory authorities. At present, attempts to contact the owners have been unsuccessful. Staff are continuing conversations with the district legal team, U.S. Coast Guard, and others to determine further action and potential funding alternatives to assist with the cost of the removal of the vessel. Be happy to answer any questions if the board has any.
Thanks so much for that, John. What a saga. It's really been a shame. But the district has done some excellent work on this very complicated issue. Any comments, commissioners? No? Thank
No.
you.
Yeah, thanks for the report, John.
Yeah, thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Okay, then we will move on to item number 12, which is also.
I think we have a public comment, Nancy.
Yeah. John Olam.
Once again, President Rearing, you're just not paying attention. It just doesn't occur to you that anybody else is participating in this meeting. Whoops. Once again, President Rearing, you've proven that you just don't care about the public. You're not paying attention to what's going on. And if it wasn't for Virginia Chain Corrali, you would have blown off somebody once again. It sounds like this issue has been going on for 5 years. And 5 years seems an incredible amount of time to not have dealt with this. I know there's been multiple regimes in place. So there's a lot of blame to spread around. But this is an abject failure on the part of the district to deal with this situation. If anybody can just sail a boat in there and leave it there illegally, and there's nothing that can be done for 5 years, well, I'm not sure what anything can be done. And we might as well just turn the place into a graveyard for ships and have them come break them in our harbor, because there's nothing that you guys can do apparently to kick them out, or just hook them up to a boat and tow them out of there like you would with a tow truck. So maybe you could explain that, what the difference between that boat is in between a car that's illegally parked that you would have towed after 48 hours. I'm not holding my breath. Thanks.
So let's see, where was I? I think we finished the abandoned vessel update for the tug vessel. Tug, that's a good word. Caleb. And we'll move on to another item for Mr. John Moran, which is confirmed district Cal OES designated agent.
Yes, commissioners, this is a motion to approve the attached universal resolution, district resolution number 22-14, confirming the general manager, James Pruitt, as the district's Cal OES designated agent, which is required to maintain the district's eligibility for all open and future disaster grants declared by the Governor of California for up to 3 years following the date of approval. The California Governor's Office of Emergency Services, Cal OES, requires that a special district's governing board confirm the district's designated agent every 3 years via board resolution. By confirming the district's designated agent, the district will remain eligible to receive reimbursement for money spent on repairs and responses to disasters declared and recognized by the Governor of California. Historically, the district has applied and received reimbursement for damages caused by severe weather events, and most recently, applicable reimbursements for COVID related responses. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the aforementioned motion.
Great, thank you, John. Do I have a motion to approve this item?
So
Commissioner.
moved.
So moved or seconded, whichever.
You're seconding, Tom.
Okay,
All right, Melanie, roll call.
Commissioner Chang Crawley,
Aye.
President Ryring,
Aye,
Commissioner Zemke,
Aye.
Commissioner Mathush.
aye.
the motion carries. Thank you, John. Thank you, commissioners. And we'll move on to item number 13. Authorize public meetings to be held via teleconferencing pursuant to Government Code Section 45953E, which I know by heart by now. Do I have a motion to approve?
Well, I'll move it. I think we had a hand up for the other, from a member of the public for the other item, Commissioner, President Reiring. I don't know if you want to take public comment
For
on
the
that.
For the Cal OES item? Oh,
I
okay.
don't,
I don't know, maybe.
I'm
John
just
Owen.
looking at the attendees, that's all.
John Owen.
No, I was meaning to speak to this item. I appreciate that, Mrs. Corrali, but that's not what I meant to do. I meant to speak to this item.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve this item, oh, what's the item number? Hold on. Item 13, which is what we have to do.
I'll second that.
Do we have something going on here?
I think John Olam would like to speak on this item.
Yeah, I already called on him. Is he gonna
Okay.
speak?
Well,
Go
for
ahead.
this item.
Go ahead, John. You can, you're unmuted.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Again, Mr. Rarian, you need to start paying attention to this meeting, what's going on. Totally okay with having these meetings online. I think that's great. I think that's how they should have been always done. There should always been a countywide broadcast of these meetings. But I think the time has come to recognize that having them in the afternoon is not conducive to public participation. I'm the only one that attends these meetings regularly. The only other time you can get someone to attend is either you're going after Sabrina Brennan or you're going after somebody specifically and that person will show up. You need to really think about the times of these meetings. As Ms. Raring knows, the general manager was against the move to meetings in the middle of the day, and for the express reason he said, it would be difficult for people to attend. Nobody other than Mathush has expressed support for having these meetings in the middle of the day. But South San Francisco, that's really funny, Nancy. That's really cute. Do a little yawning there at the back there. It does express your amount of appreciation for public participation and how you treat people that disagree with you. Staff, I hope you notice that that's just how she is. And anybody else that's watching, which there aren't, she can get away with that because nobody cares about this district. Nancy likes it that way. So yeah, go ahead. You can cut me off at this point. The yawn said it all.
All right, we're going to move on to item number 13, authorize public meetings to be held via teleconferencing pursuant to Government Code Section 54953E. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
No, we had a motion for
Yeah,
that.
motion, yeah.
We had a motion and a second.
Well, I think we have to go back and do it over.
No, I don't think so.
We have Tom.
I made the motion and Tom seconded it.
All right, good. All right, we'll go with that. Melanie, roll call.
I think Commissioner Zemke sent second.
Or so, okay.
See, that's why we need to go back and do it.
No, I think
Present.
Tom seconded actually.
All right.
Commissioner
Oh.
Zemke seconded the other item.
Just want to make sure it's approved.
Yeah.
All right,
President Ryder,
aye.
Commissioner Zemke,
Aye.
Commissioner Mathush,
Aye.
Commissioner Chang Crawley.
Aye.
Great. All right. And at this time, we're going to be moving into closed session for conference with real property negotiators and conference with legal counsel. So Melanie, I think, have you sent all of us a link for that yet, or do we need that now?
I did. I can resend it right now.
Okay.
Great, thanks.
So Melanie, we're leaving this meeting, correct?
Yes, and I will stay on this meeting. And then once the closed session is over, then just get back on the original link. And you know what, Julie, I'm getting an error when I'm sending that around. Julie, if you're still on, oh, because she sent the original link. Hold on, let me try again. Okay. No, I'm getting an error. Let me call Julie and have her send it from her directly. Hold on a moment.
Julie, Melanie, you have some people gotten the link and others haven't?
Yeah, I think because Julie originally sent it and I am sending her email around, but for some reason it's giving me an error. So
Yeah,
I'm
I know.
actually,
I never got Julie's email.
oh, so I'm talking to Julie right now and she'll send it directly. And we'll see if the error stops.
But either way, we're getting out of this meeting, out of this one, right? Leave
Right.
this one. Okay, 'cause I have the link. from
I got
Julie.
it. Thanks, see you in a bit.
Yep.
Oh, is this everybody? I think this is everybody. All right. Trisha Ortiz, do you have anything to report out?
Yes, I'm going to report out that direction was given to initiate an action, and the defendants and other particulars shall, once formally commenced, be disclosed to any person upon inquiry.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, now we're going to move to commissioner comments. Does any commissioner have any public statements they'd like to make? If not, which looks like it's the case, future agenda items?
No, but I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Great,
I'll be second.
great. Roll call, Melanie.
Commissioner Zupke,
Hi,
Commissioner Mathush,
Aye.
Commissioner Shane Crowley,
Aye.
President Ryring.
Hi, have a great week, everyone. Thanks
all
very much.
right, take care,
Thank
people.
you. Bye.